Welcome back everyone to Captain of the River, where I am back here in Calabrin, where I am looking for artifacts of the ancient city. And since this thing is glowing, I guess this is the first one I need. We have a pillar, I presume. A broken column, close enough, I guess. This once beautiful pillars of Calabrin are now sad reminders of war. Alright. Even they called it a pillar here, then a cracked plate. This ancient plate is covered with a spiderweb of cracks, rendering it unusable. Alright, so we just can't just wash it and have it for dinner or anything like that. Might as well take the one chest here and that one too, and we can continue to look for artifacts. It looks like the next artifact is in this little gazebo, or whatever they want to call this thing. A toppled statue. It must be facing target. Really? Alright, here we go. This hammer, worn with age, nearly falls apart in your hand. Okay, are you saying that I have to touch this part of it? Good grief. This once proud statue of Celebrimbor now lies half buried in the earth. I guess that's what happens after all these years. Now, we can kill an Uruk or two as we look for the... There are a large number of these wooden chests all over the place. Looks like I've got a fallen lamp and one more artifact. So this way. Now we have one more to find. As soon as we take care of that nasty. Now, let's see. Over here. We have a lamp. A fallen lamppost. None of the lamps that illuminate Calabrin by night remain standing. And discarded pouch. This small pouch now contains only dust and splinters of rocks. Right. Well then, I suppose it's time for us to return with our report. Here are the most interesting items I could find.
These are sad reminders of times long past.
These are sad reminders, but they are surely not what Saruman seeks in this place. In my heart, I know for what he searches. It is ring lore that he desires, the same knowledge with which the builder of this city was ensnared. If he finds it, I fear he could work great evil upon the lands and peoples of Middle-earth. Breakleth gazes at the horizon, obscured by distant fog. From the hilltop above, you hear the harsh calls of Orkine ever over the wind. After a moment, the elf warrior turns back to you. I will tell you what the tale of the Jewel Town and the Silver Bastion, but you will know how we were deceived, and you will know why it must not happen again. It is of Antheron that I must speak, the giver of gifts, but you will know him by another name, for he is Sauron, and he is the enemy. Alright, and I guess we'll take this.
After the fall of Balerion, most of my people came to live in the land of Lindon to the west.
We lived there under the benevolent rule of Gil-galad. Bonds of friendship were made with the dwarves of Eredluin, but a thriving trade of metal and gems with the people dwindled as the Longbeards suffered war and disaster of their own. Yearning for Mithril to fashion into the works of art and beauty, many of the Noldor followed the dwarves as they journeyed eastward. Led by Celebrimbor, descendant of Feanor, the elves settled in the holly-covered hills beneath the west gate of Khazad-dûm. There was once again friendship and trade between elf and dwarf, and Celebrimbor's city of Eregion thrived. Eregion was still a young kingdom when the men of Numenor arrived. Tar Aldarion, the king, sailed up the river Guathlo and embarked to explore the Swanfleet on foot. He befriended Celebrimbor and forged alliances with the elf-smiths, and in return they taught some amongst his people techniques of armor shaping that the graven in Ithilden and moonstones. In time, Aldarion grew old, and he came no more to Caras Gaelebran, but the friendship between his people and mine endured. The friendship endured, but it was tested. The Númenóreans were a seafaring people, and they had long exhausted the forests of their island home. They hungered for timber to build more and mightier ships. The Lady Galadriel, who dwelt for a time in Eregion and often danced alongside the lily-covered waterways, despaired to see the toll taken upon the wide woodlands by Númenórean axes. When the shipbuilders began to dredge her beloved Swanfleet and build dikes to channel the waters, she entreated Celebrimbor to stop the men of Númenor from harming the land.
It pained Celebrimbor to see the woods and fens so ill-treated, but he did not want to harm his alliance with the men of Númenor.
Celebrimbor counseled the men of Númenor to take greater care with the land, but his words were not heeded. Galadriel's sorrow became too great, and she turned her attention to Lorelendorian and other distant lands. Celebrimbor gave up the woods as lost, turning his attention to his and skill towards mastering his craft. Together, Celebrimbor and his friendship with jewelsmiths became the most renowned works of riches in all the Middle-earth. If they could not halt the slow degradation of the land's beauty, they would at least seek to supplement and preserve it through their craft. And so they were ensnared.
I can still see this city as it was during the height of its beauty. So much was lost.
And here we see Caras Gaelebran before it was in ruins. The silver bastion became a shining jewel itself, a beacon of art and music and culture that drew attention of the love of many from the distant lands. Caras Gaelebran and Mirabel became places of such beauty that they recalled the fabled elf halls of old, and trade with Lindon thrived. But not all who watched this from afar watched with friendly eyes. In the land of Mordor, to which he fled following the defeat of his master Morgoth, Sauron seethed. He feared the rising might of Númenor, and despite having drawn orcs and other fell creatures to his service, he knew that he didn't possess the overwhelming numbers with which his master had dominated the world in past days of triumph. He devised a scheme by which he could ensnare enemies' weaknesses against them. And so he came to Eregion in fair guise, masking his true nature. This way.
He called himself Ontheron.
Word of your craft skill has spread far wide, Lord Celebrimbor, even into the uttermost west. I am humbled by your presence here, Ontheron. I see in your arrival an omen of good fortune. Accept my greetings and my welcome. You will be my honored guest. Othran had come first to Linden, but Gil-galad mistrusted him and refused to treat with the strange newcomer. It was in Caris-Gelebrin that the Lord of Gifts found one whose lineage and whose hunger for secret knowledge made him the perfect target for Anthran's promises. Celebrimbor could not resist, and before long the new arrival became a mentor to him and to the jewelsmiths of Eregion. This way?
Not all who dwelled at Caris-Gelebrin trusted this new arrival.
Right.
Celeborn saw something in the Lord of Gifts that troubled him.
I cannot say why I am so disquieted, Oronithil. I share your unease, my lord. The right company will go wherever you lead. Show us this threat, and we will end it. But what is the heart of the problem, my friend? What is the threat? Though Galadriel had gone, Celeborn remained in Caris-Gelebrin. As Eregion's chief defender, he refused to abandon these lands, and sought instead to protect them against the stranger who had seized Celebrimbor's Cair. Anthron hated the Bright Company and its deeds, and summoned one threat after another to trouble them. Celeborn and his warriors were often drawn away from the city, and many a noble elf was slain in these engagements. But still, the Lord of the Bright Company could not connect these rising threats with the newcomer Anthron and his two ready smiles.
Despite the mistrust of some at Celebrimbor's city, Anthron did not remain idle. He gathered to himself promising students and gave to them secret knowledge. But whatever he taught them, always he held something in reserve. Always there was more to be learned, more instruction to be given.
How will we know when we have mastered what thou hast taught us? The most promising among you will know, Narmalith. The students were not his only pupils. As the years passed, Anthron grew more and more brazen. Celebrimbor and his jewelsmiths fell further under his thumb, ensnared by his promises of secret knowledge and the workings of the crafts, both beautiful and powerful. The jeweled hound and the silver bastion thrived, and the glory of Celebrimbor and his jewelsmiths only increased, year after year. But the true masterpiece of Caris-Gelebrin was this ring forge. The ring forge.
Anthron convinced the jewelsmith to forge great rings of power. Long they toiled, until at last their work was complete.
A set of 7 and a set of 9. You're certain that these great rings will help preserve the land? They will help protect the lands of those who wear them, my lord. Give them to the hole diggers and the fellers of trees. The degradations that they caused will be slowed. I called your arrival an omen of good fortune, Lord of Gifts, and yet I undervalued the help that you would provide. I serve the powers, my lord, as do I in all things. Celebrimbor gave to the kings of dwarves and men the rings that he had made, and for a time he knew peace, not knowing that he had been deceived, not knowing that what he had done would nearly undo the world. Shortly afterwards, Anthrin departed. He would return to Eregion only once more, and then he did it. He would bring death and destruction with him. But after he was gone, Celebrimbor began to doubt. In time, suspicion awakened in his heart, and he began to worry that Anthrin had ensnared him by his own greed and some devious scheme. He decided to use the art that he had learned to forge 3 more great rings, unknown to the treacherous Lord of Gifts. He believed that he and his kinfolk could use these 3 rings for protection, should matters go ill. So now we cut to the Fires of Doom. Anthrin returned to Mordor, and in the heart of his kingdom he cast aside his fair guise. He had no more need for deception. In Mordor, the Dark Lord Sauron sought the fulfillment of the scheme for which he had planned, walking unnoticed amongst his hated enemies for so many years.
You go on ahead. My words will guide you, but I go no further than this.
She's scared to see the Fires of Doom. We go deeper inside. This does not look like a fun place. Alright, further down. Wait, just look at the fire, just a fire geyser. This is really nasty. You certainly don't want to be caught here.
In the fiery heat of Orodruin, Mount Doom, Sauron forged the ruling ring. 1 ring to rule them all. 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie.
So what happened next?
Celebrimbor had kept 1 of the 3 for his own.
At the moment that Sauron placed the ruling ring on his own finger, Celebrimbor knew his danger. He removed his ring and vowed to never wear it again, lest his mind be dominated by the Dark Lord. Those of the jewelsmiths who had similarly kept rings were made to give him up, sometimes by force, and the 3 rings were sent in secret to hidden bearers. Messages were sent to men, dwarves, and elves, in which Celebrimbor admitted his folly and warned of the coming war. So were the folks made ready to defend Middle-earth, but it would not be enough to save Eregion from the ravages of Sauron. The gates of Mordor opened, and the armies of Sauron came forth. He would seize as many of the rings of power as he could find, but the 3 remained hid to him, and he touched them not. What do you say about this, mental deer?
The gates of Mordor. The armies of Sauron. What did I miss?
Surely it is not as bad as all of this. Sauron has been dead for 3,000 years, and today Mordor is an empty land. Sometimes elves have trouble marking the passage of the years. I mean no offense. Well, let's see what we got here. Ooh, a better chest plate.
I returned Tegwin to Mossward.
I returned Tegwin to Mossward, and while I was unable to coax a promise not to venture again into the wild, his parents gave him enough chores to keep him occupied for at least until adulthood, at which point I think our obligation to keep him safe must surely lapse. I swore no oath to the farmers of Swanfleet. Dwendal did not speak kindly of me, did he? I am not surprised, Pine Dwayne. In my heart I still hold the causes of Dunedain most dear, but I understand my folk may not believe this, and I can't deny the breaking of my oath. But who is your new friend? If she hates the Urix as we do, and is willing to aid us, perhaps she can help us track down several of their leaders. Rumors of 3 such villains has preceded me here, and I cannot help but think of the work would go more quickly if we were to split up, each of our deal with one of them. Ah, split the party! Do we split the party? And how successfully do we take care of this? We have to find that out in the next episode of Captain of the River.